Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And today I have the one and only Ms. Sharla Frost on the show. Sharla has removed her attorney hat today and she's going to be talking about her new children's book that is launching today. So do me a favor and share this out to everyone that you know. And let's get a bunch of people on here. You guys are going to love Charla. She's an amazing lady, incredibly smart, talented, brilliant, beautiful. You will love her. So share this out with everybody that you know, and we'll see you in just a second. I almost didn't unmute. We are back. Let me bring Charla on. Hang on. Here we go. Charla, you are muted, by the way. You're muted. Charla, welcome to Breakthrough Walls.
Thank you, Kim.
Or should I say welcome back? What'd you say?
I said I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
I'm so grateful to have you here. So, Charla, you've been on the show two or three times, I think now, and you know the deal. I started this to help people get unstuck in life, really, to have a breakthrough. And you have certainly had a couple of those in your life. And I really, this is about your book. We're going to talk about your book that's launching today. But I would love it if the audience could get to know you a little bit first. So why don't you do this? Why don't you start with telling everybody where you were born and raised? And I'm going to click over here and share this out to a couple places. But tell everybody where it all started for you.
Well, I like to tell people, je suis né à Paris. I was born in Paris, Texas. And then I grew up in Frogville, Oklahoma, which is a little ranching community 25 miles north of Paris on the Oklahoma side of the Red River. As a kid, I was 13 miles from a loaf of bread, and we were way, way out in the country. I was lucky. I went to a small public school, big supporter of public schools, by the way. And 12 years later, managed to actually eke out a graduation. I went to college at Southeastern Oklahoma State University, which is mainly famous because uh, that's where Dennis Rodman and a couple of famous other people went. Not me, but I got to tag along. Uh, and then from there, I went to law school. And 40 years later, I decided I was tired of doing trials. I was very lucky. I got a great experience. I was in the courtroom explaining to people why my client, because my clients were all corporate clients. I was on the civil defense side. But I got to explain why my client didn't owe as much money as the plaintiff's lawyers. My buddies on the other side of the V were asking for. So it was a great experience. But just before the pandemic hit, I decided that I had done as many trials as I was interested in doing, and I wanted to do something else. So I decided I would put to some use those skills that I had developed back at Southeastern. I was an English major. I was an English and speech double major. So I could talk and I could write, but I couldn't do anything really substantive. Those people who know how to add and subtract always mystify me because I can't do that stuff, but I can talk. So that gave me the opportunity to revisit some old skills. And I wrote a book about how to develop business for women lawyers, and it was phenomenally successful. It came straight into the pandemic and straight down because, of course, no one was getting out and doing anything. And
Right.
And the guy I was working with as a publisher at the time asked me if I'd ever thought about writing a children's book. And I went, well, no, I don't have kids. And he said, well, those will sell. So why don't you give that a try? And so now, 6 installments later, I'm still writing children's books, and each of them comes from a slightly different literary tradition, paying homage to my English major roots. And the kids will get to come home at the end of 7, which will launch in the fall. But today we're going to talk about number 6,
Number
where
6.
number 6, Lily, my protagonist, my main character,
Yeah.
wakes up. She has fallen down a rabbit hole and she's in Under Earth all by herself. And you have to figure out, if you're all by yourself, what do you do and how do you cope? And what skills do you bring to bear in order to find your way home? And that's what this is about. It draws its inspiration in part from the Lewis Carroll book, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, which is slightly different than the Disney version of Alice in Wonderland. But that combined with Jack and the Beanstalk, which I discovered with doing a little bit of research, is one of the old oral tradition stories that dates back almost 1,000 years. So it was kind of fun to meld all those together and create something new and different.
Well, you have certainly, hang on, let me get back here. So you've certainly, um, I mean, you're like people don't even know. This is some insider knowledge that you are. I mean, you're literally almost finished with the seventh installment in this series. um, I, let me ask you this. So, like when you had that conversation about writing a children's book, what was the did you have any, like, fears around it? Did you think, "What in the world am I doing?" I mean, or did you just go, "Oh, this is great. I'm all in."
Well, probably a combination of the two. I really gave thought to it and thought about the fact that as a kid, I loved fairy tales. And while I don't have children, I do have lots of little cousins, and I have over the years read some of the books that are currently popular for children. And my impression of many of them was that they were startlingly hostile. They weren't fun. I wanted something that was fun. And I also wanted something that was a little different. So most fairy tales don't have the main character as the girl. Yeah, I came from a family that it was me and my sister. My dad really wanted us to be boys, but you get what you get. So he got 2 girls. Uh,
Right.
and I was in a profession that was heavily male dominated. So I had to learn skills that were survival skills in a slightly different sense of that term. And
Yeah,
I wanted to be able to showcase some of that with a character. So, sort of mashing all of that together, I decided to do a fairy tale that focused on a female as the main character and explored some of the traditional values of family and keeping your promises and
right.
working hard and figuring out how to do things that may not come naturally to you. So I'm not sure that was a good answer to your question, but that was kind of my thought process.
It was the perfect answer, and I think that it's a perfect answer for, the world today that we're living in, that nothing. I mean, I know you well enough to know that you've woven into these stories that, nothing is going to just be handed to you. You're gonna have to work your butt off for it. And you're gonna have to form alliances along the way if you're gonna make it, right? Um,
That's true.
so I think that, I mean, honestly, it's a series of books, and I'm gonna pop it back up here on the screen. It's a series of books that anybody can can benefit from.
They are written in such a way that kids will enjoy them and adults will appreciate them. One of my best buddies told me they were way too complicated for kids. And it's like, I don't know. I just read them to some second graders at Fort Towson and they loved them. So I don't think they were that complicated, but they are designed to be read on a couple of different levels. The first one's just a straight up fairy tale. The second one invokes the uh, yeah, my mind just went blank. I can see
Uh,
them, you know. The Anyway, each of them
yeah.
is something different. Yeah, and the
Yeah. And so I think that for and who said that? You said a friend of yours said
friend of
that
mine,
it's
yeah, and the second one's Arabian Nights. I don't know why I couldn't remember that this morning.
oh,
Yes, but each of them has a different literary tradition, and adults will recognize that. But it's my perception that schools no longer teach a lot of that traditional literature, so the kids won't know that the Arabian Nights is the basis for the second one, or that Irish fairy tales is the basis for the third one. Uh,
right.
those are the kinds of background that an adult enjoys. In fact, the fourth one was based on Beowulf. And a buddy of mine is a Beowulf specialist. And I got to tell you, that's a niche item for those of you who remember Beowulf from eighth grade.
Yeah.
But those were fun. And it is both a series to talk about how you accomplish things and to teach a little bit of a background of those traditional stories.
For those that don't know, I mean, you are a very dear friend of mine. Not only are you a client, but I consider you to be a really, really good friend. And I appreciate because as an entrepreneur myself for many years, it can be challenging, I think is a good word, to be an entrepreneur, among many other things. But you've gone through the ups and downs in life of, you tell a beautiful story about one day when you realized you weren't going to be able to make payroll and you were going to have to let everybody in your law firm go, or the majority of them at least. And you have told that story with so much conviction that I've seen you literally choke up talking about it because you care so much about people. And I think that, and I bring all that up is, look, these stories that you've written in the Frogville series of books, they touch on everything, and it's not just about, and this is what I love about the fact that it's a fiction children's book, and I'm saying children, we're all children stuck in these adult bodies. But I think that for somebody that wants to really enter a world where it's like, okay, there's a huge storyline behind each one, and it is about the camaraderie I talked about. It's about the building a network of friends along the way, the journey, right?
The journey is the important part and the connections one makes. Using my personal journey as sort of an illustration of that, I came from a family of blue collar working people.
Yeah.
I was a first generation college student, which is a term that educators use to say nobody in my family had gone to college. So
Right.
that
Right.
that was a new and different experience to me. That's sort of like falling into under earth for poor Lily, because you really have to figure it out. I didn't know how any of that stuff worked. Same when I went to law school. The only lawyer I knew was the elderly guy that my parents used occasionally if they needed title work on some land transaction. So that was all new. And as a member of society, you need to figure out how do you identify those people that are going to be your team, because the connections you make and the friendships you make are what make all the difference. I mean, you and your wife are a perfect example. I randomly met you two at a seminar that I randomly attended in Dallas
Right.
about 3 years ago. And who would
Right.
have known? I have this wonderful picture of me and Glenn Morshower at that event. It's a good picture of Glenn. I look like death warmed over. I don't know what I was doing that morning, but it's a terrible picture. But uh, but
I
it
doubt it.
but it was a point in time where I made connections that I would have never dreamed of. And those connections have not only been good from a business standpoint, but they've been very important to me in terms of friendship and socialization. And that's something that I don't think we teach children. I don't think we teach adults, frankly. You in a world where no one wants to make an agreement with someone who disagrees with them.
Right.
It's important to remember that you're not going to be able to find the beans and build that beanstalk on your own. You've got to be able to partner with people and find ways to solve solutions that make sense for both of you.
And that's what that's what your books are about, literally. And I think that um this newest let's talk a little bit about the newest one, and the story. And I want to keep going back because I want people to go get a copy. By the way, I'm going to scroll this across the bottom. If you go to charlafrost.com/magic beans, it will take you directly over to the Kindle version, which is only 99 cents today. So, and it'll be for the next 48 hours, but it's 99 cents to go pick up a copy of this newest book. It's called The Quest for the Magic Beans, and it's the sixth book in the series. But talk about where, because you literally could start here and you would be caught up in the beginning. So talk about how you accomplished that. If somebody wanted to start with this book in the series, how would they do that, and how would they be able to connect with the whole story?
Well, there's a short prologue. I did the introduction, and since prologue is one of those big dollar words, it I used the tagline to it, or catching you up on what happened before. And what happened before is Lily, who is our main character, when she turned 13, became the first girl in Frogville to turn into a frog. Frogville is subject to a curse, and at 13, all the boys turn into a frog and have to go on a quest to get a magic kiss and turn back into a boy. Except Lily and her brother are twins, and Lily was born a minute earlier than Crocus. Uh, so she turns into the frog. And each of the installments has been an episode of what has happened as she has been on the quest, first to get a kiss, then to get home, and what has happened in between. So the prologue will bring you up to date. But for this particular installment, she and the brother were on their way home to Frogville. She and their best friend had saved Crocus from the dungeon in King Stephen's kingdom and the installment before, and the king had given them an escort to get them home. But when they camped at night, Lily laid down on what turned out to be a rabbit hole, and she falls into under earth, and she can't get back out. So she doesn't have her brothers; they didn't fall with her. So she's on her own, meeting a bunch of new and very different characters. She meets a very tall rabbit. You see him on the front page. And he is the guy who keeps time. And he tells her that what she must do in order to get back to her part of the world. And that is she has to get permission to climb the magic beanpole back up to over Earth, which is what they
Right.
call our Earth. And the story is about her interactions with all of these characters. And she hooks up with Jack, who is the boy who has the beans, and he's in trouble. Jack has taken the beans and is accused of stealing the beans. And so we get to talk a little bit about the power of language. What's the difference between taking and stealing? Words make a
Mm.
difference. He's in trial, and Lily remembers from going to school that it's not working the way it's supposed to. You don't convict someone first and then have a hearing. That's not the way that's supposed to work. And by the way,
Right.
that's the most political thing in the book. And frankly, that is not the way that's supposed to work. One must have a hearing before they can be found guilty. But anyway,
Right.
she manages to get Jack out of the courtroom, and then they have to go and find the beans, plant the beans, and grow the beanstalk so that they can get away.
I just love the way that you weave this all together. It's really amazing. I do, and Jill is watching, my wife, and she her quote is actually on the front of the book. She's the editor. But Jill, if you would put Sharla Frost, www.sharlafrost.com/magic beans in the comments, that will make it clickable for anybody watching on Facebook. And if there's anybody on X watching that could do the same, that would be fantastic if you would enter that into the comments for me. I'd appreciate that. It looks like we have around 600 and some people watching on X right now. So that's really amazing. So Charlotte, this is quite the adventure, and I do recommend to everyone that we need more people on X, by the way. Oh, there we go. It was at 666. No bueno.
Yeah,
I don't I don't like
yeah.
that.
These are not religious books, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but there is you do have a message of thank you, Jill. You do have a message of family. You have a message of I don't want to say family. It is family, but it's just they're very moral. It's a very moral, a positively moral series of books, and I think everybody should go get a copy of each one of them. But for today, just go over to charlafrost.com/magic beans, and that'll take you to the Kindle version. And look at that. Jill's giving me words. Thank you, Jill. Loyalty, that's an important word. And let's see what Mark Gassert is saying. We all need magic beans to keep growing and develop. Thank you, Charla, for sharing. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you.
Um,
Yeah.
y- yeah, we do need that. We need, and there's a lot of metaphors in this story that can be related to real life.
Well, I think it's always important to have what I call common cultural currency. That's something that I think that we are sorely lacking these days. Back when I was a kid, my older cousins read to me all the time, and they read me all of the Aesop's fables. I'd be willing to bet you that almost no one knows Aesop's fables anymore, which is really unfortunate because those are the strings that sort of connect us from one generation to another, or with
Mhm.
Aesop's fables, from one civilization to another, going back thousands of years.
Right.
And I think that it is important for us to have commonality, and we can do that without having divisiveness. These books are just fun, and they're designed to be traditional in the sense that they teach sort of universal themes. And Jill is right. They're about loyalty, they're about friendship, they're about keeping your promises, learning to cope when there's no one there to help you? What do you call
Mm.
on? What do you remember? What are the things that support you? The your family and the memories of your family and the kinds of talents that you learn and the skills you learn. You know, the kids worked in their mother's workshop, so they learned how to make smoke bombs. And every kid loves a smoke bomb, but if
Right.
you don't know how to make one, then you don't know how to escape from the dragon. And if you don't know how to make new things out of old things, you don't know how to escape from new situations that you may find yourself in. But I think that tradition and traditional stories are crucially important. That's why those Jack stories go back 1,000 years. Uh,
Yeah.
they're part of the fabric of our society, and I'd like to be part of that fabric going forward. Nobody remembers a female lawyer. Everybody remembers Lewis Carroll. He wrote kids' books.
But you have, I mean, for example, I'm trying to get a hold of Charla. I think it was last week or maybe the week before, because we are the publisher of her books, and you were very difficult to get a hold of this particular week, and then I found out that you're out flying around the country in Miami, and not too long ago you're in New York and you're doing all this lawyer stuff. And I think that for a little girl from Paris, Texas, is that what you said? Paris, Texas,
That's where I was
born
born.
in yeah, born in Paris, Texas, and raised in Oklahoma, and then you go to law school, and you've done some really big things, and you still continue to do really big things as a lawyer. You're still doing some really cool stuff, and I think that if people would get into these books, and I'm not talking about just children, I'm talking about adults too, but at least read them to your children so you can both experience it together. uh, uh, you know you mentioned the word divisiveness. um there's so much division in our world today, and I literally said this the other night to a bunch of people I was talking to. I said, this is not sustainable as a human race. We have to have a shift and learn how to you know agree to disagree and still live together and be in society together. And I love how these books really do tie all that together.
Well, like I said, it's what I have referred to for decades as common cultural currency.
Yeah.
We all live in the same time and the same culture. We're not ever going to agree on everything, but we should be able to find common ground on some things.
Yeah.
And particularly if we're talking about how do we raise children and how do we teach them the values we'd like to see. uh, Not having children probably makes that a little bit easier for me, because I can have plenty of opinions without having to put them into practice. But I do see that what we want from our next generation is we want loyalty and we want friendship and we want people who learn to work together to a common good. But we have difficulty communicating that to them through the materials that they have available. And, it's great to be controversial and splashy and have books about, bodily functions and this and that. Nothing wrong with that. Works for some people. On the other hand, I don't know that that teaches anything. So rather than a
Yeah.
confrontational book, I wanted something that was educational And I think these are. And the language is probably a little more complicated than in some similar books, but kids read Harry Potter. I mean, I was talking to a guy the other day who
Yeah.
said his 7-year old grandson just finished the Harry Potter series. That's a
Wow.
kid who's not going to have any trouble with the language in my books. Uh, and,
Right.
and, and hopefully he's going to read all of them.
I
But
I
we
think I
don't
think though. Sorry, go ahead, Charlotte. I'm
we don't
sorry.
we don't ask enough of our students and our children. They are able to do so many more things than we give them credit for. The second graders, when I went to Fort Townsend and read to them, they were amazing. They knew so much more than I knew at that age. And
Yeah.
I think that's true of most children if we give them the opportunity. And thank you, Dan. That's very kind of you.
It is very kind of Dan. He is such a good man. Thank you, Dan. The and I'm putting in the banner here that the Kindle version today is only 99 cents. So maybe our friends like Dan Altmeyer and some other people will go pick up a copy and we can help Charlotte get this to number one today. So you go to charlafrost.com/magic beans and it will take you directly to the Kindle version and you can pick up a copy there for your Kindle. And you're also able to go ahead and pick up it appears that all three versions have coagulated on Amazon, and so you can get the paperback or a hardback copy. I love that word. I came up with, I mean, that's literally what they do. They coagulate. But you can go over and get a copy today and help Charlotte get this to number one. We have 877 some odd people on X watching. If even half of you go pick up a copy for 99 cents, we will rocket this thing up to number one real quick. And you'll not only help Charla, but you'll have a wonderful story to read to your children or your grandchildren or your nieces or nephews or even the neighborhood kids. But it's a great book, and I highly suggest that you go pick up a copy of it. So Charlotte, the next book coming along, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but it's a fun series. The next book is the seventh book in the series, and it's the final book in the series, isn't it?
It is, yes. Lucky number 7 is going to see the kids get home to Frogville. They will have turned back into themselves. One thing that I didn't talk about was in installment 2, the Arabian Nights one, where I couldn't remember the name of the uh, literary tradition. Uh, we get to deal with sibling rivalry because you see, Crocus was supposed to turn into the frog, and he trained to go on his quest, and then he didn't get to go because he was still a boy and he was not a happy boy. So instead of turning into a frog, he turned into basically a troglodyte, and he was mean and angry and acting out. And so we get to deal with that issue. But
Mhm.
as the series has gone on, the siblings have bonded in a way that siblings do as they get older. And so we've resolved those issues. And while you will not see Crocus and their best friend Burrhead in episode 6, in episode 7, which pays allegiance to the Peter Pan stories, you will find that that one's more about the boys, and Lily is going to find a way to join them, and together they are going to all go home, and they will be back in Frogville, and the series will have completed. But that's been fun. For each of these stories, I've gone back and done a bunch of research, and I discovered, for example, I had never actually read the original Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I had read a Disney version, which is a little different, and same for Peter Pan. So when I ordered and read the original Peter Pan story, I was a little surprised at that one. It's a little bit angry and
Mm.
violent in a way that I had no idea. So my version will not be quite true to its inspiration piece, but that's going to be the focus. The lost boys who are lost because when Lily fell down the rabbit hole in installment six, King Stephen's soldiers booted the boys off to the island of lost boys and went home. They didn't take them to Frogville. So we're going to see what happens as they come together with their new allegiances to find a way to get home.
So I just received a message, by the way. So I have to go find out what's going on with it. Make sure you type in www.charlafrost.com/magic beans, because the other, without the www in there, it's not working properly apparently. So we'll get that fixed though. Just make sure you put in the www and it will work. My wife just sent me a text message, so we're always in the background trying to look out for Charla. But so one of the things I want to kind of talk about a little bit, and we'll wrap up here soon. But one of the things I know about you, being the attorney that you are, is you've gotten to know human nature probably better than most people that I know. And I think that this book and this series of books that you've written here couldn't come at a better time. Uh, What about I don't want this to get political at all. But I don't know that there's a way to have a conversation today. But like, what about human nature do you see that is happening that relates to your stories in these books, that maybe if they read through some of these stories, people start reading stuff like what you're writing, it may help correct the course in our world today a little bit.
Well, in episode two, when Crocus turns into Crescendo, who is a fire breathing, angry young man, uh, I think that has a lot of application to things that we are seeing in the public press. Having a temper tantrum and throwing fire and being angry uh, just is not productive long term. And as Crocus discovered when he suddenly found out that someone tried to kill his sister, she threw herself in front of him and took the arrow for him. And it shocked him back to his senses.
Mm,
At some point, we all get shocked back to our senses. The world isn't about us. The world is about those people beyond us. They're about our family and our friends and the people that surround us. And I think that we will, in time, find that all of us have that crescendo to crocus moment. We
yeah.
stop seeing the world as about us and we start to see the world as about others. And that's what I would like to see. And to that extent, I think these books do have application in a cultural sense. I won't describe it as a political sense. You and I agree on some things politically and not on others, which I think is
Right.
a perfect example of one can be friends without being 100% simpatico on everything. That
Right.
that's the way the world should work. We should be able to identify those things we agree on, identify those things we disagree on. And as long as they sort of average out, that's okay. I have a lot of friends I don't agree with on either end of the spectrum, and they are still my friends and they're still my family. And I hope that my writings reflect that same sort of balance.
Yeah.
You can be the person who is in the middle without being the person who has no opinions. That's a different issue. But these books, it is my hope, help teach people to understand that there are balances and differences and opportunities to make things better.
There you have it. If that is not convincing enough for you to go spend 99 cents and pick up a copy of Frogville Quest for the Magic Beans, like this, and by the way, I did just fix the issue. I think that it should work now. That my wife said is not working. It works now. I just tested it. So go pick up a copy of Frogville Quest for the Magic Beans. It's 99 cents on Kindle for the next 48 hours, and or you can pick up a hardcover. The hardcover editions of these books are beautiful, and like this is a phenomenal series. So go pick up a copy on Kindle. Go to all of them and get a copy on Kindle, in fact, and really immerse yourself and people that you know and love. Look, my wife is out spending our hard-earned money on your books. I'm kidding. I
Yeah.
love it. And I'll pick up a copy here in a little bit too. But I think that the this this world that we live in today, like I said, under the current state of things, people are just there's too much division. I think we need to learn how to communicate more effectively, build those friendships and alliances. And you're right, you and I don't see eye to eye on everything. We see eye to eye on most things, but not everything. And that's okay. It's okay. And you and I've even had heated discussions, and it's okay. Like, right? So and that's what I think you're going to get from these books is you learn how to more effectively communicate with other people. Like we've got to learn how to do that without getting all like crazy about it. So I love that. And my wife just said it. They make great gifts. They absolutely make great gifts. So let's see. Eric Flanoy is on here. He said, I'll get mine. Um, God's blessings. I love you both. We love you too, Eric. You're that dude's amazing.
He is. What's
Yeah.
funny about these books, I mentioned earlier that I was an English major in college, but I was what they called a straight English major, which meant I was non employable for anything if I didn't go to graduate school. So, it's a good thing I got into law school. Uh, because of that, I wanted to take children's literature, and I didn't qualify. Uh, in order to take children's literature, you had to be an education major and you
Wow.
had to have certain prerequisites and this and that, none of which I had because I wasn't planning to teach. So I didn't take any of those classes. But it has been wonderful fun to do the research and background reading before working on each of these books. I guess that's the lawyer training in me. And I didn't just sit down and automatically uh, dream up every instance that was going to go into these books. I spent a lot of time reading. One of the installments is based on Norse mythology, so I went back and reread all of the Norse mythology, and I read, like I mentioned, I read Beowulf. Went back and reread Beowulf, and I got to tell you, those brain cells were pretty dormant, but it has been interesting to dig back into some of this classic literature because there's a reason that classic literature is classic. It is timeless, it is not situation dependent. Uh, my friend Gina does software training, and she talks about how some of her processes are software agnostic. It doesn't really matter which version of software you're using, the system still works. And
Right.
in many ways, that's true of literary issues. Literature is not necessarily civilization dependent, it's almost civilization agnostic. Those terms and themes are applicable uh, wherever they fit. And children are children wherever they are. And people, irrespective of their society, need friends and allies, and they have family. And all of those things apply. So I at least like to think that these are somewhat universal in their application. My readers will tell me, uh, because what you intend as a writing is not necessarily what is perceived as a writing. And that is also a legal concept. And I will bore you for a moment. There are two schools of thought on contracts, the Williston and the Corbin views. One says that a writing is what you intended it to be. The other says, no, a writing is just what it is perceived to be. And if you look at the law, you will find that justices are adherents to one school of thought or the other. And neither of them is necessarily right or wrong, but one is in ascendancy at times and the other is not. And so my readers will tell me whether they perceive what I think about what I wrote to be the same as what I wrote.
I mean, that's the beauty of having your books out there where anybody can purchase one and then leave a review. So, right? And you've got a lot of 5-star positive reviews on this particular series. So, I highly encourage everybody. Listen, today for the next 48 hours, the Kindle version of this is only 99 cents. You can pick up the sixth installment of Frogville Quest for the Magic Beans is 99 cents for the next 48 hours. Go to charlafrost.com/magic beans. You now don't have to have the www. It works either way. And go pick up a copy of this and start really I there I remember there's so many memes and things out there, videos of you take two little kids that are, you know, not programmed by anyone in society yet at 3, 4, 5 years old, and you put them together on a playground. It doesn't matter what color their skin is, does not matter what their family's religious beliefs are. It does not matter where they are on the socioeconomic ladder. They just love each other and have fun and play, and that's it, you know? And, I think that we need books like yours to, bring society back to the center balance point, and people need to learn how to communicate more effectively, and I think your books will help them with that.
Well, I hope that they just help kids have fun, because one of the things that, in my perception, is missing from a lot of current literature is they're just not fun. I
Right,
loved reading when I was a kid because the books were fun. And I
right.
enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the escapism versions. Uh, I still like to read as much as I like to write. But I would like to think that I have contributed fun to the world. A little education, a little, social conditioning, and how to be a nice human being to the world. But I'd like to think that I've contributed a little bit of fun as well, and that we don't have enough of that these days. So this is my
Amen.
contribution to the world.
I agree. And Glenn, our buddy, my best friend in the world is Glenn Morshower, and I was here with him just a few hours at my office, a few hours ago. It feels like, but and eh, w- him and I get together and we don't see eye to eye on everything, but we laugh and have so much fun. It's and you've been around us, we just have fun. And I just think that people that don't like to have fun suck. so so go learn, go read some of Charla's Frogville books. Start with this one today. Get it for 99 cents on Kindle, and start learning how to have fun and laugh and enjoy life, man. Because I don't think there's one single person you could ever, if you could bring them back to life, I would bet that anybody who's passed away would say, man, I just wish I would have had more fun when I was alive, like, I think that we're missing the point. I think we're missing the point. And I'm so grateful to have people like you in my life that remind me that it's okay to have fun. It's okay to be a human being. Along the journey with you, we've made errors. I have, you have, we both all have, right? And we just go, yeah. And you're wonderful about that. You're just like, That's, hey, it's life. We'll get through it." you know.
There's always a way around it. The only
Yeah.
things you can't fix are the things that you don't know about, and that
It's
too
true.
was legal training. Uh, there
Mhm.
are always going to be things that don't go the way you want them to. So you
Yeah.
have to figure out, how do you get around that? Whether it's falling through a rabbit hole, or taking the wrong turn, or not having the right link on something, you just
Yeah.
figure it out and you fix it. Life's
That's
too
it.
short to worry about the little stuff. And as that old
That's it.
saying goes, it's all little stuff.
It is. There's a one of my favorite. I've not read it, but I love the title of this book. I've never read it. I love the title of it. Written by Marie Folio, and the book is "Everything is Figure Outable."
Is
I I love that. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. And this book, these your books are literally the epitome of that. Like the adventures that they go on in these books are absolutely unbelievable. And as we're sitting here talking, they figure it out.
Yeah, and Lily figures things out.
Yeah,
That's sort of the point of the main character. You don't have to have someone fix it for you. It's kind of nice sometimes, but that doesn't happen all the time. Uh,
right.
but you can figure it out and find a way to solve your problem, whatever the problem is. If
That's
you're
right.
if you fell down a rabbit hole, or you're trying to get something from the dragon, or you need to rescue your brother because your brother got in trouble and got locked up in a dungeon.
Yeah,
How many families have had to go get somebody out of the dungeon, whether it's a literal dungeon or a figurative dungeon. And
right.
you find ways to do that. And
Correct.
it's about family. You just figure out how to fix it. You can't
That's
always
right.
fix them, but sometimes you can. And the way you do that is to make sure that you you make positive steps forward, and you think about the things that are required to solve your problem. And if you
That's
can't,
amazing.
because I can't add and subtract, but I can find someone who does. And I can't do technology as much as I would like to, but I can find someone like Ken Walls who knows how to do that. That's what you do in life. You figure out the resources you need and the people you need. All about connections. And I seem to think that you have a book coming out sometime soon that talks about the power of connections. And I
Yeah.
think that the connections that you make in life are the important parts. That's what makes life worthwhile.
There's, I had I had a conversation with Glenn this morning on the way to my office. And he mentioned a very large name of somebody he would like to connect with that I'm connected with. And I said, "Well, I happen to know that person." And he goes, "I know you do." So here I have a Hollywood movie star and he's not like, there are some people that just use you for connections. But that's not Glenn. He's definitely not that guy. He's just, I think that there's nothing in life more important than what you just said. If you don't learn, because you're not going to, there's a book called, it was written by Dr. Wayne Dyer, called there's a spiritual solution to everything. And we are all spiritual beings, whether we believe it or not is really insignificant. We're spiritual beings having this human experience. And he talks about in that book, and this is brief, but he says spirituality cannot exist in a vacuum. And you as a human being, um none of us are able to build and grow and experience real success and happiness in life in a vacuum. I know so many people that try to, I've been hurt, I've been this, I've gone through, and I'm just going to disconnect from all human beings. that that doesn't work, man. Like, it's not going to work. You got to stop that. So anyway, I'll get off my high horse, but Jill does say, and it's true, our daughter plans to follow in your footsteps and go to Baylor Law School. She's very determined. It's amazing.
Well,
Um,
she couldn't pick a better law school, in my
yeah,
humble opinion.
yeah,
And she'll be a great addition when she gets there because
yeah.
she's got the right personality and she's a smart little girl. And I know she won't
She's
appreciate being called a little girl because she is 14, but nonetheless, she's going to be great, and Baylor will
yeah.
be lucky to have her.
That's awesome. You're gonna I'm gonna cry. Stop that. So thank you for the kind words. She's amazing. Both of my daughters are amazing. Glenn Morshower is a class act, and he definitely thinks and lives on a much higher plane. Way higher plane. Holy moly. Zena says hello. Hey, Zena. She's
Hi, Zena.
getting her copy. We love Zena too. We love Jay. We love all of you. Thank you all for watching today. And, I always, when we come on and we talk about these new installments in your series, it's for me, and I know for you too, it's like, well, how do you kind of explain to go get book number 6 if you haven't read the first 5? But look, you can get book number 6. You can go through the beginning. It explains where we are in the storyline. And then, and what my brain is not functioning. Epilogue.
There's
Prologue.
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 Yeah,
Prologue.
there
Prologue.
is an epilogue, but
There is an epilogue.
yeah, but the prologue
Yes.
gives
Prologue.
the introduction, and the stories
Yeah.
are designed to stand alone.
Yeah.
So while I think you get a more fulsome experience if you read the
Yeah.
whole series, you can read one and still enjoy the story.
Yes, you can. And take some stuff away from it that you will probably end up automatically applying in your own life, adult or child, that will make a positive impact in the world. So, Charlotte, thank you so much for coming on again and being with me. I'm going to pop this up again. Everybody watching, please go to charlafrost.com/magic beans and pick up a copy of Frogville Quest for the Magic Beans. It's 99 cents for the next 48 hours on for the Kindle version. And go pick up a copy of it. Enjoy this story. It's an amazing book. It's an amazing story. And while you're there, go ahead and grab a hard copy of it or a paperback copy of it. But let's help Charlotte at least by getting the Kindle version and downloading that to your phone or your Kindle device. and let's help Sharla get this to number one today.
Thank you, Ken. And thank you to all of you who are watching and have commented. I really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the stories. I had fun writing them. I had fun writing this one. And I think you'll enjoy it.
I do too. So go get a copy of it, charlafrost.com/magic beans, and go enjoy this story and share this with the world too. If you're watching it from X, we have around 1,300 people watching on X right now. We have all kinds of people on all the platforms watching. So go over and grab a quick copy, spend 99 cents. It's a small, tiny investment, and enjoy this. You're really going to like it a lot. So everybody have a great day. Thank you so much for being here and sharing this. To all my friends who've shared this out on X and everywhere else, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I know Sharla feels the same. Sharla, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we go?
I just hope that everyone has a great World Frog Day, because that's today.
That's
And it's the
today. That's
spring equinox. So, welcome to
Oh yeah.
spring. Enjoy reading with Miss Lily as she goes through the gardens. It's a perfect time for a read with Lily.
Oh, that's so true. So true. So go grab a copy, 99 cents on Kindle for the next 48 hours. And we will see you all later. Join Charla and I, by the way, at 3 p.m. Central Time. We'll be over on an Amazon Live. You can go to kenwallslive.com to follow me on Amazon, and you can join us when we go live on Amazon later today. 3 o'clock Central Time, we'll be live over there. So, thank you all so much. Charla, thank you. Many blessings to you all. Go grab a copy of this today. Thank you, Charla.
Thank you, Ken.
We'll see you guys later. Have a great day.